Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Giants close out the regular season by beating the Philadelphia Eagles by a score of 27-10. So, as you could imagine, I wasn't really too thrilled with this. And this was an absolute blowout. The Eagles are a team really just decimated right now, like just in terms of injuries are part of it, but just they look awful. And the Giants with this win, as far as this week is concerned, right? I mean, we can think about all the other wins the Giants have had, but if they had lost, they would have had the 5th pick. Instead, they had the 6th. So the Chargers jumped them. What was frustrating about that was the Chargers should have easily beaten the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs had nothing to play for, and the Chargers did what the Chargers do. And so that was very annoying. It's interesting with the Cardinals. The Cardinals ended up losing a game they absolutely should have won. So with that, there's less regret. I mean, maybe that's not the right word, but there's, either way, within this week, the Giants would have still been behind the Cardinals. So, but the negative was for the Leonard Williams pick, the Seahawks won. So that made that pick probably moved it down a couple of spots. I believe it's sitting at number 47. The good news, though, with the Leonard Williams pick is the Packers beat the Bears, and so the Seahawks didn't make the playoffs. So the Seahawks making the playoffs would have pushed it down further. So that was okay where that ended up. It was very important that they didn't make the playoffs, and that didn't happen. So mostly good news there. But yeah, for that first round pick, I was hoping for at worst the number 5 pick, and it ends up being number 6. In the grand scheme of it all, it may not make that much of a difference, but it just ends what was, for me, just a really frustrating season for the Giants. They never gave up. I mean, sure, like they kind of fought till the end, but the beginning of the season was really bad. And we'll talk a little bit about this Eagle-Giant game. I'm not going to go into deep detail about this game. I'm going to try to keep it brief, but right from the onset, Cowboys-Giants, what was it, 40-0, Sunday Night Football, first game of the season. So you kind of hit that gut punch right away, and they end up starting out 1-5, although the Bill loss got them to 1-5. Like there were times when things could have maybe turned around, and it just didn't really quite go that way, right? You think about the Bill loss, think about the Jet loss, but ultimately this team didn't deserve to make the playoffs. There was a lot of injuries, but that's football. And so it ends up being 6-11. It's really almost exactly where they want them to be. It could have been worse, right? I mean, if they had finished 7-10 or 8-9, that would have been worse in my opinion, because you're still finishing under 500 and you have a worse draft pick. So sure. But yeah, I was hoping that the Giants would maybe lose this game. But of course, the Eagles, whether intentionally or not, always fuck the Giants over. It's just always. And the thing with this game is that even if it's not like, oh wow, the Giants beat the Eagles and it knocked them out of the winning division. No, it didn't do that. It didn't. The Eagles, even if they won, they were not going to win this NFC East. So yeah, like you can't even have that satisfaction. Sure, like the Eagles are now continuing to feel shitty about themselves going to the playoffs. And so as a Giant fan, yeah, you feel good about that, but it didn't change their standing. So I'm not going to sugarcoat this and make it seem like, oh yeah, what a great way to finish out the year. This will carry the next year. I don't believe in that. I just don't. It's a new team. Everything's completely different. So this was a disappointing season. This 2023 season was absolutely not what anyone was hoping for. And 6-11 by all accounts, like even prognosticators that had the Giants finishing, not having a great record, it was maybe, I'm sure there were some 7-10s, but it was more so like 8. It was more like more finishing around 500. That did not happen. So with this game, there's not a whole lot to talk about. And looking at the stats of the game, the Giants were flat out the better team. They had 415 total yards. compared to the Eagles, who had 299. And yeah, I mean, Tyrod Taylor had a lot of success. The Giants are not good at running the football, so there was not a whole lot. I mean, Saquon Barkley's numbers are not all that good. He was 18 for 46 with 2 touchdowns. But Tyrod Taylor, 23 for 32, 297, a touchdown and a pick for him. And he also had 38 rushing yards. I guess we'll talk about injuries. I mean, going into it for the Giants, no Deonte Banks again. John Michael Schmitz was out. I'm trying to think, did he play? For him, it might have been again also. I can't remember. He might have played last week, Schmitz. But Schmitz was out. Banks was out. And I'm trying to think of any other notables injury-wise. None are coming to mind. And for the Eagles, they had a decent amount of like injuries that were like with prominent players and then in-game as well. So Devontae Smith was out going into the game. Darius Slay was out. DeAndre Swift was out. And then A.J. Brown got hurt in the game. And I haven't really checked to see what the status is of him, but that would be scary for them. For them to sustain that type of injury, it does then speak to the fact, hey, and I think a lot of Eagles fans felt this way. Hey, let's just rest guy. Like, let's just not even go for it. Jalen Hurts got like banged up, but he ended up leaving the game. But that was more for score circumstances. So he ended up playing until, the last series of the first half went to Marcus Mariota. And then for the Giants, Tyrod Taylor actually did leave the game for a little bit with a thumb injury, so Tommy DeVito came in briefly, but then Taylor came back in. Look, Tyrod Taylor is a very, very good backup quarterback. Like, there's no denying that. I don't think that he'll be back with the Giants. I mean, I guess I've seen crazier things, right? But my guess is that he'll be elsewhere. But yeah, I mean, Wando Robinson, 5 for 85. I think that this was a very good second year for him. Darius Slayton, 5 for 62 with a touchdown. Like, he's a consistent player. Like, should he be your number one wide receiver? No, he shouldn't be. But he has always, done a nice job in finishing up, what was this, his 6th season? No, 5th. This was his 5th season as a Giant. Yeah, I mean, he's been on the team for a while. Darren Waller, 5 for 45. This was a disappointing year for Darren Waller. I had really high expectations, but injuries got the best of him. And, he's not the player that he once was. I mean, you see it in flashes, but still. And then the real interesting thing is Sterling Shepard, this was very likely his last game. Like, probably in the NFL. I think he retires. And he got like a nice salute. Like, they introduced him as like the last member coming onto the field. And he had 3 catches for 18 yards. You could tell they so desperately wanted to get him a touchdown, and it didn't happen. It actually resulted in Tyrod Taylor throwing an interception. But Shep, got some praise as he deserved. Couple of interceptions by Xavier McKinney. His situation is interesting with him being a free agent. Will he be back? It's tough to say. I could not say whether McKinney will return or not, right? And so, yeah, going through it drive by drive, Giants punt, this is going to be a lot less detailed than normal. Giants punt, then the Eagles punt, then the Giants do get a field goal. I wouldn't say there was anything notable from this drive. It was kind of a mix of everyone. And Mason Crosby hits a 24-yard field goal. And then to me, the key play of this game happens on this drive by the Eagles. So in the first quarter, they're moving the ball pretty well. And then on a 2nd and 9 from the Giant 27, it's A.J. Brown with a catch, which was a first down, but he fumbles. I think Nick McLeod was the one that forced it, and it was covered by Micah McFadden. And A.J. Brown was hurt on the play. So not only does he turn it over, they had good field position, but he hurts and he's out for the game. So that right there, to me, sensed, all right, the Giants very well might win this game. So the Giants go 3 and out on their next drive. And Tommy DeVito was in on this drive, and they go 3 and out. Then the Eagles, they eventually turn it over on downs as we move to the second quarter. It was a really shitty play. 4th and 3 at the 48, and just not a well-run play by Nick Sirianni. And it's incomplete to Dallas Goedert. And then from there, the Giants rolled. So now they have good field position. They're already starting in Eagle territory. And, the real big play was a Wan'Dale Robinson 26-yard catch on a 3rd and 11 to the 2, and then Saquon Barkley with a 2-yard rushing touchdown. Then the Eagles go 3 and out, and then the Giants put together a nice drive with, again, good field position. And the big play was Taylor to Waller for 23 yards, and then Taylor to Wan'Dale Robinson for 19, and then Saquon finishes it off with a 3-yard rushing touchdown. And for Saquon, this could be Saquon's last game as a Giant. So let's not that is not certain, but it's very possible. Then the Eagles go 3 and out. Again, this is, at this point, pure domination by the Giants. And the Eagle fans that were there were booing the Eagles. So now a couple of big plays is at the 2-minute warning, a 46-yard pass play from Taylor to Barkley, and then a 19-yard touchdown reception to Darius Slayton. So that makes it 24-0. Then the Eagles, it was basically just as good as a punt, I guess. But Xavier McKinney makes a nice interception along the sideline. Then the Giants do go 3 and out. Eagles get the ball back, and it's another interception. Marcus Mariota comes in the game, and his first pass is intercepted by McKinney. But then the Giants try to force it to Shep, and it's intercepted by Reed Blankenship. So the first half ends at 24-0 Giants, and not a whole lot else to speak on, honestly. I'm not even. The Eagles do get on the board with a field goal on a long drive. It ends up in a Jake Elliott 36-yard field goal. Then the Eagles do get a touchdown in the fourth quarter. It was Mariota to Quez Watkins, a 16-yard touchdown, makes it 24-10. Then the Giants come again. At this point, they're trying to get Shepard a touchdown. They're coming close to the end zone, but they end up settling to make it a 3-score game on a 21-yard field goal by Mason Crosby. So it's 27-10. And then it was a sack fumble. Mariota. Jihad Ward with the sack causes the fumble, and it's recovered by Azeez Ojulari. Then at the end, Mason Crosby does miss a 45-yard field goal. And the final score of this game is 27-10 Giants. So it'd be nice if the Giants lose against the Eagles when it actually meant something. But of course, they do it now when the season is over. And I would have preferred they lose. So, yeah, that's it. This season's a wrap. And I don't know. 6th overall pick. We'll see what happens. I think that you're not going to land, without trading up, you're not going to land one of the top quarterbacks. It's not going to happen. No way it's going to happen. So, and I'm not sure if it's worth trading up for it and giving up, all that draft capital, because again, you have it with the Leonard Williams pick. The Giants do have 3 top 50 picks. That's not nothing. But Joe Schoen, I want to see more from him in terms of his drafting. What happens now coaching-wise? It feels as if Wink Martindale is on the way out, and that would be a big loss, and I have a bad feeling that it will happen. Mike Kafka, what's his status? I don't know if he is necessarily going to be back, but next year is a big year for the Giants, and I do believe in Brian Daboll. I have not lost faith, but this was a rough year. There's no... you can't deny it. It was. And, was he dealt a bad hand in some ways? He was. But I also understand why people would be critical. So, whereas I saw no way, even if they went 2-15, honestly, I really didn't think that Dable would be fired. Next year, that's a different story, right? Year 3, you want some stability, but let's see what happens. I mean, this division is still as poor as the Eagles have been lately. And they do maybe seem like a team that maybe could be on the decline, I guess. This is still a division that's run by the Cowboys and Eagles. And the Giants have, despite this game, they've shown no signs of bridging that gap. So last year they go 9-7-1. They win a playoff game on the road. And then this year they finish 6-11. So we'll see what next year has in store. But again, Giants in their season finale defeat the Eagles 27-10.